Okay, last week we touched on activity 212, and that was your first intro in this grade for logos, ethos, and pathos. So how is your understanding of the three persuasive appeals going to prepare you to write an argumentative essay? Go ahead and write your purpose statement on your bookmark. And once you've got your purpose statement written down, go ahead and flip the bookmark to the back side. You may have seen it on the class bookmark, you may not have. 212 had us practice only one out of the 11 concepts. It only had us take a look at concept 4, the idea of using the persuasive appeals. So make sure to write that down, catalog it. When you're done, take bookmarks, you can slide away. And Springboard will be open to page 137. So you're going to want to have a highlighter. Go ahead and just use those learning targets. Got about 30 seconds for that. All right, so with this activity, we're going to have two practices here. First is looking for relevant evidence, and secondly, the difference between logic and fallacy. All right, so step one, before we move on, right below the title of our activity, 213, I want you to go ahead and write down this note for yourself. The claim for our embedded assessment. Now, there are a few of you that are going to be completing your own topic for the assessment. Even so, I'm still going to have you write this down because that's what we're practicing here in class. For the majority of you, your essay is going to be based on the claim that cell phone use while driving is bad. And with today's activity, we're actually going to be pulling out evidence, logos, to support that claim that we're going to defend. And once you've written that claim down, go ahead and highlight it as well. So to open up, step one is asking you if you recognize what exactly those conversation bubbles are. What do they look like to you? Yeah, Santiago? Yeah, it's a series of text messages. It's a conversation. Yeah, that's cool. Laugh out loud, no worries. Hey man, head around out for like an hour. Sounds good, my man. See you soon. And then it stops. It's a pretty abrupt stop. So obviously we're going to figure out what exactly those three messages were about. And we're going to be taking a look at two different articles today in regards to the claim, cell phone use while driving being a poor decision. Now, this is our first article, and our focus on this one is going to be to decide which type of appeals are showing in this article and what exactly is the claim. So you folks are going to see some stuff popping up on the screen. I'm going to ask you to make those marks, and you're going to have the opportunity to discuss this article with your group as well. We're going to break it down chunk by chunk. All right, so the first thing I'm going to ask you to do with the article, I want you to go ahead and draw a bracket just as you see on the screen. It's bracketing in the first three chunks of the text. I'm not going to call them paragraphs because some of them are only a sentence long. So the article comes from Denver, the Associated Press. It's parents share son's little text message to warn against texting and driving. Could someone read that first chunk of text for us? Just those first three pieces? Go for it, please.
Denver AC Alexander Heights final text cut off in mid-sentence. Before he could send it, police say the 22-year-old of Northern Colorado student drifted into oncoming traffic, jerked steering wheel, and went off the road, rolling his car. He died shortly after the April 3rd crash, but his parents and police are hoping the photo of the Monday text on his iPhone will serve as a stark reminder to drivers. The photo published Wednesday in the Greeley Tribune shows he was responding to a friend by typing, "Sounds good, my man. See you soon, all PW," before he crashed.
Okay, take about 10 seconds to discuss with your family. Do you think it's one of the three appeals, or do you think it's the claim, the argument? Go ahead. Okay, 5 more seconds. All right. Now, depending on how you argue this, your response might be different than the one that pops up on the screen. So I'm going to have you go ahead and write down this particular piece. This is a really great example of a pathos appeal. Now, some people might claim, okay, sure, there's an emotional element in there. We're supposed to feel some kind of maybe sorrow or grief for this 22-year-old. Some might say, well, it's logos, it's specific facts. This was the person, this is when it happened, this is where it happened. So kind of like the 5 W's, 1 H. Some people might even say, well, maybe it's even ethos. This information is coming to us from a credible source, the Associated Press, where all they do is report facts. So again, depending on how you argue it, it could be one specifically. You might even argue it's all three appeals. All right, now the next chunk, number 4, is going to stand on its own, but go ahead and bracket that piece in. Just like we did last time, we'll read the chunk, you'll discuss what you think it could be, one of the appeals or the claim itself, and then we'll move on. All right, reading? Go for it, Michael.
This is hopefully a time period to have a down with the game for the on-criminal and the outskirts of the University of Northern Colorado. According to police, the non-criminal driver slowed and moved over just before a highly up and jerked.
All right, discuss with your group. What do you think it could be? Is it one of the three appeals, or is it the claim? In 5 seconds. All right, now again, depending on how you argue it, you might believe it's a different piece than what you see on the screen, but for sure this is going to be an example of a logos appeal. There are facts here. And I did hear a couple of groups as I was walking around say, well, there's credibility, witnesses. These are the people that saw the incident happen, so this is ethos. Absolutely, you can claim this is ethos as well. So we do have specific facts hiding in this chunk also. All right, now the next chunk, you're going to see 2 markings appear. So we're going to be bracketing the sentence, but we're also highlighting something, and that's probably going to be a big clue regarding what this piece is. But even so, we're going to go ahead and read it, follow that same process. I'll read it for you folks this time. Police say Height, a Colorado native who loved hiking and snowboarding, had a spotless driving record and wasn't speeding. In a statement released through police, Height's mother said she doesn't want anyone else to lose someone to texting while driving. Okay, discuss with your group. Is it one of the 3 appeals, or is it the claim? Go ahead. In 5 more seconds. All right, now the particular chunk that we highlighted, the highlighted piece is the claim itself. This is the argument that's being made. Don't text while driving, you're going to lose someone. Okay, and that's going to leave us with the final piece, final sentence. So we'll go ahead and bracket that in. And Taylor, could you read that last sentence for us?
In a split second, you could ruin your future, injure or kill others, and tear a hole in the heart of everyone who loves you. Sharon said.
All right, folks, since we already have the claim, that means it's going to be one of the 3 appeals. Decide with your family which appeal you think it might be. Go ahead. Most of you went automatically to one versus the other. This is definitely going to be a pathos appeal. So we're definitely going to be talking about emotions here. You might cite it as well as being an ethos appeal. This is the woman that dealt with the situation. She's the one that lost her son. She's commenting on it. So she is a credible individual to give us that information. We're going to go ahead and move on to 138. So go ahead and flip the page. And you folks have these, well, 2 are questions and 1 is a statement. So I'm going to give you, let's say, about 3.5 minutes. And I want you to go ahead and answer questions 3 and 4. You can talk it out with your group if you'd like. If not, be really thorough in your response. And then we'll discuss it together as a group. All right, go ahead. Okay, if you're still writing, that's totally fine. Just continue writing. For those of you that are done, let's go ahead and talk these 2 questions out. So number 3 was asking what was the evidence that was used. So what kind of evidence was brought up in this article to prove the point? Texting and driving, bad idea. Yeah, Joshua? Okay, we've got witnesses that saw that particular accident with that person. Other evidence? Yeah. Okay, so we've got the actual text message itself. It was never completed. It was this mid-text, as Michael pointed out. Anything else? Yes. Okay, this particular person lost a son as a result. So is every single piece logical, meaning it's true? Yeah, every piece is true. But do you think every single piece is convincing? Will folks see this and go, never again? Why don't you think it's convincing? Why do we still have people texting and driving, but we still get these horror stories? What do you think, Donovan?
It's just laying out a lot of facts, and none of them seem too convincing if I were to be a texter and younger.
Okay, there's maybe just a lot of facts laid out, and the facts themselves not really hammering home to me, hey, I've got to take action. Yeah.
It's just what people are used to, and just having one where people feel like, oh, that's not going to happen to me. That was their mistake.
Okay, good point. A lot of people are used to this. They're texting and driving. They've been doing it for years. And this one incident, as Michael pointed out, well, it's not going to happen to me. I've been good so far. What are you thinking, Victoria? Same thing. All right, Chloe?
People just say
Yeah, they're well practiced. They're seasoned veterans with the whole texting and driving. And again, well, it's not going to happen to me. All right, now moving on to step 4, it's really asking you why is logos the most important to use correctly and skillfully? Why is that super duper important, Jordan?
I said it's really important because you can't really argue with logos because it's basic facts.
Okay, good. It's most important because these are the facts. You can't argue with them. They're set in stone.
Because if you use it too much, then it's just going to be like too many facts and like nobody wants to read it and you're not going to convince by getting to the facts.
Okay, so Chloe said if there's too many facts, certain audiences, maybe they're not going to take the bait on it. They need something more emotional to pull them in and make them realize, taking action would be a good thing. Now, step 5 only said, hey, notice how the appeals overlap. That happens a lot. Certain appeals, as we talked about together, you could argue it might be one, it might be the other, it might be all three. As long as your argument is sound, meaning it's good, you've got the backup for it, you could argue appeals showing up together at the same time. All right. Now, about halfway through 138, there's this subtext that says, what is sound reasoning? I'm not going to have you read through it, but instead we're just going to highlight the info that we need. So first thing I'm going to have you highlight is this guy. There's a term called a premise. It's fancy. A premise is an assumption, a statement, that something is true. Now, all sound reasoning or good reasoning is based on a premise, sometimes multiples. The next thing I'm going to have you highlight is this guy. We call an argument sound or good or true if the argument is 100% valid and all the statements are true. So everything that you say, it's not opinion, it's fact, it's the real deal. And the last thing I'm going to have you highlight is this guy. Basic arguments have within them two premises and a conclusion. So we have two factual statements, and then we develop a conclusion because of those two statements. So there's an example that falls right below, and I'm just going to have you write down this side note to yourself. This is an example of sound reasoning. So could someone actually read the premise and conclusion as one entire sentence? Go for it, Jim.
If Socrates is a man and all men are mortal, then Socrates is...
All right, so we've got Socrates. Socrates is an old Greek dude. He's a Greek philosopher. That's where the word Socratic seminar came from. Yeah, it came from this guy. So the idea is, well, Socrates is a man. Yep, he was a dude. That's true. All men are mortal. Yeah, that's true. We all die. We don't have infinite lifespan. Then Socrates is mortal. Well, that's a good conclusion. I based it on these two facts. I've come to this final thought. All right, now there's one thing I'm going to have you do with sound reasoning. I'm going to have you copy a secondary example. And here's hoping that you folks enjoy this one. Here's another example of sound reasoning. So I'm providing you two facts, and I'm developing a conclusion based on those facts. If Harry Potter is a wizard, and all wizards are magical, then Harry Potter is magical. So Harry Potter being a wizard? Yes, true, logical. Wizards magical? Yes, true, logical. My conclusion? Harry Potter's magical. Good conclusion. We based it on some facts. You haven't pulled it out of thin air. Now, this kind of premise statement, it takes time to be able to develop really good ones. And I'm going to have you try and see if you can't develop one. It's okay if you can't. It takes a lot of practice. So if you see this frame come up and you go, it's okay. You just want to give it a try. This is essentially a basic frame to develop a premise. So you've got an if-then type situation, kind of like a complex sentence. Now, the stuff that's in blue, sometimes you've got singular nouns, sometimes you have a singular adjective, kind of like the Harry Potter premise, but sometimes that doesn't work. You have to give a little bit more of a thorough phrasing. So what I'm going to ask you to try and do, and it's okay if it's really hard and you struggle with it, you're just trying it out. See if you can't develop a premise statement based on your EA. So for a lot of you, you're going to be writing about the idea of texting, driving, cell phone use bad. But there's a couple of you that are doing a different idea. See if you can't make a premise statement based on the claims that we're going to be arguing. If you want to talk it out with someone, please do. These are a little bit tricky when you're first trying to do them on your own. I'm going to give you about 2 minutes. See what you can do. Again, our premise statements are a little bit higher up there. It's okay if you're struggling, if it didn't make sense to you, if it wasn't clear. That isn't something that your essay would be graded on as a premise statement. You're just practicing being able to back up your reasons. That's it. All right, now the last thing we're going to look at on page 138 is this idea called a logical fallacy. So again, we're not going to read all the way through it, but we're just going to highlight the key ideas here. Now, a logical fallacy is a fancy term for a false statement. That's all a logical fallacy is. So this person might have a statement that has truth behind it, but something in the statement is wrong. There's an error somewhere. So they gave you incorrect facts. They claimed something so broad that there's no way to pinpoint it as true. So again, logical fallacy, it's a false statement. Now, an example follows below, and I think it's pretty funny. You can go ahead and highlight it, circle it. An example of a logical fallacy would be this. We need to pass a law that stupid people cannot get a driver's license. Well, okay. What exactly makes someone stupid? Is it their IQ? Is it based on their personality? Is it really not an intelligence quotient? I mean, if that was true, folks, well, come on, people that drive can be stupid, right? They can make stupid mistakes, and just because they didn't get A's in math doesn't mean they can't drive a car. You know, intelligence and driving a car are two separate things. You don't have to be Einstein to put your foot on an accelerator. So this idea of saying, well, we have to do that, there's an error there. There's something that's just not sound, something not good. All right, now at the top of page 139, this is the big culmination here of sound reasoning and a logical fallacy. If you take a look at step 6, it's asking you to look at the statement and argue whether it's valid or not. So could someone just read that premise and conclusion as one full sentence? Thank you, Christian.
If texting is distracting and distracted driver can result in an accident, the texting can result in an accident.
All right. Now, in the My Notes column to the right on page 139, here's a sentence frame for you to use. You need to state whether you believe this argument is valid, true, or invalid, false, and why. All right, take about a minute and a half. Again, talk it out. There's nothing wrong with doing that. I like how some of you are citing that this is valid, some of you are citing that it's invalid. As long as you're producing a solid explanation, it could go either way. This could be a valid statement, but it could also be invalid. All right, so we've taken a look at sound reasoning. We've taken a look at something called the logical fallacy, the false statement. Now we're going to look at one more article today. I'm going to read this one to you folks, and I'm going to pause after each chunk. So I'll pause after chunk 1, I'll pause after chunk 2, and I want you to write next to those numbers. You can either write it to the left or the right. What type of appeal do you think is being shown here? Is it pathos? Is it logos? Is it ethos? No answer is going to pop up at all, but just try and see if you can't start reasoning which appeals are really showing up. Okay, there's a lot of logos in that particular piece, 100%. There were tons of different statistics and data, not only said by David Strayer, but just within the article itself. You also have that ethos keep popping up. We've got this man that's been studying driving incidences for over 15 years. He's making it his life's work. You might be able to persuade and push a little pathos with that piece if you were able to explain it a little bit more. But we're going to go ahead and take a look at number 8. And number 8 is going to help you answer your out question today. So Grant, could you read number 8 for us?
effective argument to oppose and verify evidence for potential demonstrated was that studying distracted driving 2 years while texting is more dangerous than driving from riding quote and or paraphrase evidence.
Okay, the first thing I want you to do in regards for our out question, I want you to go ahead and highlight that very first sentence in step 8. It says effective arguments use quotes, evidence to support a claim. That's what makes it effective. Now, your out question is asking you, how might one evaluate an argument for logical reasoning? So what are people looking for truth? What you highlight is giving you a hint as to how to respond to your answer for your out. So I'm going to give you a minute to work on that. Alright, when you're ready for it, the last part of step 8 is asking you to find a quote or to paraphrase some information. So we know that the essay that we're going to be writing, we're going to be claiming cell phone use while driving is bad. So within this article, Distracted Drivers, I want you to pull a quote maybe from David Stayer, or maybe you go ahead and pull something else from that piece to help prove the claim that we're going to be working towards. Take about a minute and a half, look through the article. What's one piece that you would like to use to help with our claim, cell phone use while driving is bad? Okay, now the last piece that we're going to tackle, we're actually going to develop some embedded quotes. So right at the bottom of page 140, you have this check your understanding subheading. I want you to go ahead and write this as well. These are going to be embedded quotes that you can pull for our argumentative essay on cell phone use while driving. Now, the quotes that we're going to be developing here, they're not going to be specifically for our claim, because our prompt in Springboard is asking us to be a little bit more specific. So once you've got that subtext written, I want you to go ahead and highlight the actual claim that Springboard wants to defend. Now, it has to do with cell phones, but it's being more specific when it's saying texting while driving. Not cell phone use. Specifically, texting is going to cause a problem. It's going to be distraction. It's going to result in crashes and an increase. So we're going to be developing one quote per article that we read today. So underneath that writing prompt, I want you to go ahead and draw a line down the middle. And we're going to go ahead and put these headings for each column. They're almost exactly identical. There's only one small difference. Now, the left-hand side, you're going to see a complete embedded quote appear from the first article. That was in regards to the 22-year-old that died, the mother with the plea to patrons, please don't do it. And that's one I'm going to provide for you, and that's going to show up in a moment. The right-hand side, you're going to have to develop your own embedded quote from our second article, Distracted Driving. Now remember, both of these embedded quotes are supposed to be factual, logos, evidence to prove the claim texting while driving is distracting and increases the risk. So here's the first one. This comes from the first article. This is the one that I'm giving directly to you. And the second one is entirely up to you to complete. So you folks have a good 4 minutes to get this info copied and to develop an embedded quote for the second article. Once you're done, you'll be good. If you want me to take a look to see if you're on the right track, let me know. I can walk right on over. If you want to work with someone, you're more than welcome to do that too.